Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to your second in a row, 2 in 2 nights, the Sir Tom Broadbent Lounge, live from Twitter Towers on the London-Kent border, no less. You're very welcome. So listen, after the last couple of years, we all need a little bit of light relief, don't we? And none more so than tonight's special guest, social media guru, all-round man of the people, the chap that helped keep us sane during what felt like an endless stream of online court hearings, which pretty much drove us all to the edge of insanity. Not only is he social media guru and the man that kept us sane, but he's also the newly appointed chair, joint newly appointed chair, along with the wonderful James Spencer of the Swindon Town Football Club Supporters Trust. Absolutely delighted to welcome none other than Alex Pollock for his show debut. Alex, as soon as you hit unmute, mate, we're good to go. How are you?
I'm very well. Good evening. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Looking forward to putting you on the rack tonight. Putting you on the rack with some quite unusual questions from the bellies of our supporters.
It's an absolute honour to be here. I think I'm the first Trust STFC member to appear. So thanks very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
No, you're very, very welcome. And congratulations, Alex, on your appointment as vice chair. I know you're absolutely thrilled. Whilst tonight is all about a little bit of lightness and brevity, do you want to give us an overview as to what your role is going to be?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I'm sure most people listening will know the role of the trust and what we've done over the last couple of years and the relationship we have with the club now. My personal involvement has been with the trust for about 7 years now. And I've been a board member for 5 of those. And at the latest AGM, just before the AGM, there was a bit of an internal proposal that we shared with the membership around the structure going forward. And Steve Mighton continues as chair. He's been chair as long as I have been involved in the trust. He's the person that kind of leads us forward. But our previous vice chair was none other than Rob Angus, who, as we all now know, is the club's CEO. So since last July, there's been that kind of vacant position. Both James Spencer and I have been on the board for a similar amount of time, and the proposal was put to both of us. We'd like to share this position going forward. I think both our backgrounds and our skill sets complement each other, and to be fair, there'd be no other person on the board that I'd rather share that position with. So a lot of what I'm going to be doing over the next kind of 12 months, or at least until kind of the next AGM, where we kind of have to all be re-voted, a lot of the focus is going to be around aligning what the trust's vision and strategy is. Both James and I are working on a new website for the trust, and also an approach around kind of member engagement. And of course, we've got the big beast coming up, which is kind of getting the county ground acquisition over the line. There is a deal in place that has been agreed with the council. They're willing to sell the county ground for 2.3 million to a newly created joint venture, which is 50% owned by the club, 50% owned by Swindon Town Community Mutual, which is the trust and the fans. So I think the next 3, 6, 9 months are going to be pretty busy off the field. And of course, we've just had a notification recently of when League Two starts up again, and it's going to be shorts at the ready weather come late July, when we'll be kicking off the League Two season again.
Yeah, well, busy times, Alex, and I think deep down all the supporters are behind the trust. The thing that I think swelled me with confidence and certainly dragged my full support behind you guys in the summer wasn't just the peril we were facing, but it's just the fact that I think so many fans just wanted to demonstrate how much they felt about the club in the face of what were some fairly disparaging remarks made in court about the level of official fan mobilisation behind alternative ownership of the club. The trust obviously made all the right moves in that respect, and the membership numbers were staggering. It felt like every day you were adding another 500 here, 600 there, and it's a really nice rosy number now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting. Obviously, he who shall not be named in the previous regime was very quick to become our friend a couple of years ago when he found out we were interested in acquiring 100% of the county ground. But of course, as soon as that goes to court and things start unraveling, we're the enemy and we don't represent the fan base. It was those remarks probably just over a year ago now in the High Court. It was those remarks that actually drove our membership. I remember speaking to some of the guys, and from sort of Monday to Friday, we'd gone from about 250 members right up to about 800 members. And then over the coming weeks, it just grew and grew. I think, I speak to a lot of friends and a lot of colleagues and clients and things like that around my work involved in the trust. And a lot of people ask for a bit of an analogy as to what it's similar to. And I mean, rightly or wrongly, we are very similar, or the way it feels is we're very similar to kind of like any of the mainstream political parties. There will be a small portion of people that you never hear from. They absolutely love what you do. There will be a large portion of the fan base who you never hear from and just, probably aren't hugely interested in what we do as long as everything's going right. And then you've always got this portion that, either don't like you or are there to hold you to account. I'm the type of person that's very open, very public. For me, my role is in the trust and the relationship we have with the club. If you can direct any question, any comment to me, I'll absolutely take it. And if you've got a question, I'll get the answer for you. I think our membership and our fan base should ultimately be holding what we do as a trust board to account. And actually, some of the conversations and some of the discussions and the debate that goes on Twitter is actually really beneficial for us. It's really good for us to get a wider view of how fans perceive what we do as a trust and how fans perceive, what the football club are doing. And there will be people out there that, I don't see eye to eye with on some of the things that, some of the commentary that's made. But actually, there's a lot of people out there who, listening to their view and their take on things, is actually really educational for us and for me as well. So, yeah, I mean, the way you want things to come across doesn't always land in 280 characters, particularly when I'm, running from meeting to meeting on a hot, sweaty day with clients and stuff like that. But I think everyone's on the same page. It comes from a loving place of us all wanting the best for Swindon Town Football Club, all wanting the best for our fan base, and all wanting the best for the wider community. So, yeah.
Well, look, I mean, listen, Alex, as far as I'm concerned, I think there's three things I'll say to you in response to that. The first one is you've only got to look at the swell within the county ground and our own attendances. It gives you a clear indication. I honestly believe that you guys were as important in the summer as light in the touch paper as the arrival of Mr. Morfuni himself. So I congratulate you for that. And I do think that there is, I genuinely believe that our crowds wouldn't be as big as they are now had you guys not undertaken the efforts you did in the summer on a number of fronts. I think the second thing is in relation to facing questions. By God, you're going to face some questions tonight, but whether they're quite the ones you've been facing normally, mate, well, is a different question altogether. And I think I just think thirdly, Alex, at the end of the day, this is a night for you to just very rare show your human side, kick your heels up, and just enjoy a bit of hopefully a bit of a giggle with us across the piece. Whilst we're on the subject of board members, Alex, I'm going to introduce you to three key members of the Sir Tom Broadbent Lounge Executive Board. First of which will be co-vice chair, a certain Chris Phillips. Chris, good evening.
Now then,
the gavel of authority that is Chris.
I'm looking forward to this one.
Yes, indeed you are. So let's Chris is going to be responsible for keeping things absolutely filthy dirty, Alex, and making sure you feel thoroughly embarrassed at every turn. Awesome. Alongside Chris, we have the again executive vice chair and also co-chair of marketing, Max Springer. Max, introduce yourself. Max, you sound like Darth Vader.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, loud and clear, buddy.
How are we doing?
Very good. Thanks. As Max emerges from his Vader-like box, taking off his helmet and attaching his oxygen pipe, and the last member of the board tonight, Alex, that will be firing witty questions in your general direction, or unwitty, depending on what side of the comedy fence you are, is the wonderful, our very own. What would I call you? Archbishop of Banterbury, Joe Vincent, ladies and gentlemen. Alex meet Joe, Joe meet Alex.
Good evening.
Evening, Hannahs. Good evening, Mr. Vice Chair.
How are we all doing? This is great.
So listen, we'll get things. A couple of things to say to you, Alex, right at the very, very start, and a couple of nice tributes sent in my direction in relation, not just the things that I just said to you, but first things first. I wanted to read you this wonderful tweet from a person that you have locked horns with and crossed swords with, a certain Jason Lane. Jason asked me to say to you, can you please say to Alex that although we have clashed on a few things in the past, over the past couple of years, I've always respected his information and opinion. Although we'll never be mates, I hope that we have a mutual respect. And following on from that, Vic Morgan, no less, Alex. Vic Morgan has said,
Oh, wow.
Please pass on my grateful thanks to Alex for his Trust STFC colleagues for all the essential updates on the Swindon Town Supporters Club panels last summer. Those sessions provided much needed guidance through the debris before we reached where we are now. Best regards, Vic. High praise, Alex.
Yeah, I think Vic knows probably more than most, actually, the kind of behind the scenes of that last year, because we were always aware of the schedule of the court cases, but it quite often changed at last minute. But the timings on the day were so erratic and so sporadic, it was crazy. So I would be logging onto a virtual court case at like 8:30 in the morning. It wouldn't kick off until 10. You'd have a very random 10 or 20-minute lunch break. You'd all come back online and then someone wasn't ready. And those panel sessions were always booked in for 6 o'clock. And I shit you not, most of those court sessions didn't finish until about 5:35, 5:45.
Oh.
So we spent a whole day consuming all of this terminology that I know absolutely nothing about. And thankfully, that one of the unsung heroes was James Mayton, who's the Trust pro bono lawyer. He was also on those. So James Mayton and I and Stuart Woolard and James Spencer, we would spend 15 minutes basically trying to dissect 8 hours worth of court cases. So then spend an hour trying to get the right words out to Vic and hundreds of people that were just signing all the questions. I remember after most of those just sort of shutting the laptop and just aimlessly going for a walk around Town Gardens in Old Town for an hour just to compress. But I'm sure to the Swindon Town faithful, to the public, they wouldn't have been aware of any of that. So it's all part of the ruse, right?
Yeah, all part of the ruse, and what a job you did, Alex. And as I say, just kick back now, just enjoy yourself.
I've got a glass of red. I've got a glass of red, actually, which is very unlikely.
No, but don't get too comfortable, mate, because the curveballs are going to come thick and fast. And with that said, Chris, do you want to get us rolling?
All right then. Evening, Alex.
Evening.
Right, let's get this started then. If you could merge 2 different animals to create the ultimate animal, what 2 animals would it be, and what would be their product?
Oh, what a great question. It could be any animal, right? Any animals.
Any animal.
I would merge an elephant because I just think they're fantastic creatures. And I have been privileged enough once upon a time to see them in the wild. I would merge an elephant. Oh, God, that's such a tough one. Probably with a majestic lion.
Oh, good Lord. That's quite
I've got no idea why. I've got no idea why. I mean, is there a right or wrong answer to that particular question?
I mean, you've got to kind of explain what their product would be now, Alex. So it's all very well and good you merging 2 of the grandest wild animals in the world. However, what are they producing?
That's a very good question. I didn't really think people have heard on that.
I'll tell you for a start, but childbirth's not going to be comfortable.
Yeah, and actually, if you merge what ends what, who takes the legs, who takes the horns, who takes the paws.
It's fraught with danger, that selection, Alex. Fraught with danger. I mean, is he going to be eating plants? Is he going to be eating meat? I mean, this is going to be one very confused animal.
Yeah, to be fair, I didn't really think this one through, if I'm being totally honest. And to be fair, if we thought bloody Jeff Goldblum and Steven Spielberg had it hard with Jurassic Park, I think I've well and truly fucked this one, haven't I? So,
Yeah, well,
from that.
you're letting your inner town ender come out now, Alex, on the show, but we're after the watershed, so we're going to allow that.
There's a movie franchise in there anyway.
Joe, do you want to move us along?
Absolutely. Evening, Alex.
Evening. How you doing?
Yeah, all good, mate. Just want to apologise first for the question for last summer for DMing you constantly over the summer. You probably got right pissed off with me. I was awful, but you put my mind at ease, which was the main thing.
All part of the job. That's what we're here to serve.
Trust vice chair, counsellor, social media guru. Is there anything this man can't do?
I can't merge two animals together. We found that
out. So my question for you is, if you were suddenly arrested for no reason and your face was flashed all over the news, what would your family and friends assume that you did?
Wow, that is a good one. Well, the thing is, my mother assumes I could do no wrong. So I would dread to think what her thought would initially be. I don't know. Maybe going too raucous. Maybe persistent standing at the back of the Don Rogers on a Saturday afternoon and failure to sit down. Gosh, these are.
Order for Pollock. How would you explain that?
Yeah, I would go out kicking and screaming though.
Are you saying you'd be one of those guys as you're being dragged out? You sort of, the police have got him in a dual arm lock, and we've got legs and everything flailing everywhere. You're going down on your sword.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm not one to condone breaking the regulations and not following the guidance, but you know, I always see sometimes where you get these people who, streakers on the pitch, or those that are getting thrown out. They just sort of waltz out with a bit of a smile on their face. Sometimes you just want to see a little bit of. You know, you need a little bit more entertainment. You've given us far a bit. Let's crack on, you know.
I think that's a Freudian slip, Alex. I actually think we're going to be seeing Alex Pollock streaking on the county ground next year. I think that's maybe what was on your mind.
No one wants to see Pollock's.
That's going to be a hell of a scandal, though.
It would be. Could you imagine Johnny Leafield? We've written a headline for you. Pollock's bollocks all over.
Absolutely. Yeah, the dogs Pollocks. That would probably be a good one. I guess I'd probably just be worried that maybe no one pays attention to it and they think I'm someone different or it's a different person. That's how much I'd slip under the radar, because I am very much, above board.
That's the answer.
So what we're saying is that the new vice chair of the Swindon Town Supporters Trust is a football hooligan elect.
Yeah, I mean, let's give it a go, right?
football hooliganism, as endorsed by the Swindon Town Supporters Trust. Steve Martin and Rob Angus will be thanking you for that in the morning.
I can imagine my WhatsApp's probably going crazy right about now. Stick to the script.
Well, no, I quite like the idea of hanging off that. I've just got to say it one more time because I think he's nailed it so well. Pollocks. And I think what we could do, we could maybe ask Andrew Hawes to have a word with Sean Hodgetts, and we could have Pollocks and Sean's Hodgetts chasing both naked across the county ground pitch on the Saturday afternoon. There's your entertainment, ladies and gentlemen, your halftime entertainment.
Absolutely. And I mean, if we speak to GW Reds, there's a TIFO in there somewhere as well.
100%. I know that Jay's listening. We'll have that lined up for the first game of the season. Max, before let's move things on from groin chat. Max, what you got for us?
Right, let's go. Right, so hi Alex, how are we doing this evening?
I'm very well. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Right, so this next question is from Sam Hart on Twitter, and his question to you is: how much hairspray do you use to keep your mane in place?
Do you know what? I actually don't. I'm going to give a bit of advice now. It all comes down to effective use of a hairdryer and a comb. If you get out of the shower and you just quick towel dry, but then put that hairdryer on very hot. Get a good comb through it, you'll be absolutely fine. Sometimes a little bit of salt spray does the job. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less.
Is there anything
Bit
you
of
can
salt
do for
spray.
me? Is there anything you can do for me in this department, Alex? Because I'm having envy just listening to the idea of placing a brush anywhere near my head.
Unfortunately not. There are some miracles that can be produced in and around the football club, but unfortunately that is not that's not one of them, I'm afraid.
Oh, hello. Right. So if I get this right, according to Steve Hale, bald banter is now a sexual assault. So I'm now effectively being sexually assaulted by Pollock's bollocks.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
You are on record, Alex. Let me just remind you.
That's what I'm going to get arrested for. We found it.
Sexual assault and manners. Well, there we are. I'm on the phone to Kent Police right now, mate. They'll be speaking to Wilspole. They'll be all over you like a rash, pal.
Oh.
Right then, I've got a question for you, Alex.
Yeah.
If you were president of hashtag STFC, if you were to appoint a president of hashtag STFC Twitter, who would it be and why?
Oh my God, that is a brilliant, brilliant question. I'm sure it's the same with most other football clubs, but I just feel like our hashtag has one of the best communities around it. There are so many people out there off on their own little tangents, creating communities and conversations around the different topics of subject. I very much remember last summer, and I don't know if he's listening. I hope he won't call me out. I very, very vividly remember last year, Mr. Ben Nichols, Hyman 80 on Twitter I think I must have had 3 or 4 tweets a day from him, just asking for a general update on what was going on with the court case. And I felt so bad continually going back with the same answer, like it's with the EFL, we don't know anymore. And I don't know why, but Ben Nichols from Hyman 80 from that period last year very, very much sticks in my mind. I'm just trying to think who are some really good tweeters and who would be particularly. I do like Martin Crook and Darren Crook in and amongst it. They're usually quite popular. They'd probably make the board.
Well, one crook often knows another couple of crooks, doesn't he?
Who would I give? To be fair, actually, I've got to hand it to her. Does a fantastic job for the Sir Tom Broadbent Lounge, and just generally always in and amongst it. And that's your very own Debbie.
Yeah.
Debbie 155.
Her Royal Highness.
I've got to be honest. She's always in and amongst it, and she would 100% be my president.
An inclusive choice from you there, Alex. I'm going to put this back to the boys, actually, because, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, me personally, I think it's a hands-down winner. I mean, I'm voting the man to make not only America great again, but make Swindon Town great again is, of course, the Sir Tom Broadbent Lounge's very own Jiff, newly appointed board member.
Oh, yes.
And Jiffy's running mate. I'm going to go for purely because she is the luckiest woman in the world. Again, I want a nice balanced ticket. I'm going to put Claire Follett in there with Jiffy. I think that's a dream ticket.
Yeah. I think that's some great suggestions. And actually, I feel really bad because my memory's not coming back to me now. I know there are so many good tweeters for hashtag STFC out there, but actually, if I went away and looked at it and came back to you, we'd have a whole board, we'd have a whole political party running it. Top marks to everyone that gets involved in that hashtag.
Yeah, well, that's very, very kind of you. Well, look, we'll move things along. I've got another question for you, Alex. Assuming you have a pet, if your pet could talk, what's the one thing they could say that would completely ruin your image?
Unfortunately, I don't have a pet. It's a bit of a contentious issue at home at the moment because the missus won't let me get a dog.
I bet you got a spider. I bet there's a spider. We can count that.
Probably a spider. She has kind of thrown it out to me. She's like, if you propose, I'll let you get a dog. So I'm just kind of in that mindset at the moment of How much do I really want a dog? Moving on. The spider, I don't know. The spider would probably say I'm very vain. You know, because I'm always on camera virtually for work, I've got a lovely little ring light here in the room. There's a little mirror nearby. I've always got to check that fringe, make sure that salt spray is keeping things in check. So, yeah, I'd probably get called out for being a little bit too vain.
Too vain. Yeah, the spider sees you in front of the mirror too much. Well, let's seeing as we're on a roll, and we've name checked a couple of these boys already, mate. Rob Angus, James Spencer, Steve Myton. Shag, marry, or avoid?
I mean, I spend so much time with James Spencer. He's probably not going to get offended if I avoid him, and that's just purely for us catching up most days. You know, Steve Myton's done a fantastic job for the trust over the years. He was the one that ignited the conversations with the council, you know, 6-7 years ago, and has had hundreds of meetings. So maybe Steve deserves a night of passion. Rob Angus, you know, if he can run a football club, he can absolutely run a household. So he'd probably be the one to marry, right?
Well, 100%. I've got no issues with that. So I think ultimately, Alex, it's a very personal selection, and I'll be happy with that selection. I'm sure each of those chaps would be very happy with the way you've articulated it. Also, Joe, move us along quickly.
My pleasure. My next question: is it true online pornography is best enjoyed by a courtroom video link?
I think you'd have to ask Colin West QC that question, though. I've only had the privilege of attending one court case, and unfortunately, and I'm really gutted, I actually wasn't on that session that day where that kicked off. I know it's not etiquette, and I know, you know, I wouldn't condone it, but unfortunately, I wasn't present on that day, which is a bit annoying. So whoever the mystery voyeur was, we'd have to ask them. So I don't know. But Colin West QC probably sounds like he'd know a thing or two.
Well, it's certainly a good bonding session. It's a nice icebreaker, I think.
A good bondage session?
Yeah, if you like. I'm not sure you'd make much sense if it was. I
think, yeah, in the interest of keeping things clean and keeping things legal, we'll objection sustained. Let's move us along, Max.
We'll move swiftly moving on. Okay, Dr. Alex Pollock, if you could build the worst town player in history from 4 ex-town on-pitch servants, what would he look like, and where does he play?
Oh, Dr. Alex Pollock, how are you going to dissect 4 town players, chop them up, mould them, talk horror show players?
I mean, there's a bit of a theme going on with the questions tonight, and I wasn't very good at merging 2 animals, so this could go a bit haywire. So let me know. I've got 4 ex-players.
Yep. And they have to be terrible.
They have to be terrible.
What do they look like, and where do they play?
Oh, that's a very good. Let's think. Who would I have? Okay, right. I'm going way back to when I was a bit younger here as well. Now I'm just thinking. I always remember going to football with my uncle and my dad when I was very young, and my uncle absolutely hated Alan Reeves. Does anyone remember Alan Reeves?
Reeves.
And he used to call him Donkey really loudly. So I'm probably going to start there. It's going to be Reeves's hoofing legs. Who else? If we're moving up the body. Gosh, this is a tough one. God, I might need some assistance on this one.
If you've done the legs, you've got to surely fit a little bit of razor midriff in there, have you not?
Oh, that's a good shout. We're now getting a little bit top heavy. I'm not sure Reeves's legs could sustain a razor midriff, but we'll go there. There was. There was. Do you remember we had a guy that came from Watford who made like one appearance back in the early 2000s?
Moses Ashikodi.
Moses, was that the one? Moses Ashikodi.
I believe so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he just played like 45 minutes, and everyone was like, "Who the hell is this guy?" I think that rings a bell. So let's stick his arms in there, and then we just need a head, really, don't we?
Oh,
Got to be Aidan Flint's head.
Aidan Flint's head, who I think has just been released by Cardiff. No.
Yes, it has.
There we go.
Yeah, and then the rumour mill's gone wild with it again.
Zero sympathy from the Sir Tom Broadbent Lounge, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, all right. So let's recap then. We've got Reeves's legs, essentially Razor's torso, Moses Ashikodi's arms with Aidan Flint's head.
Looks good. I'm really looking forward to seeing the Dan Designs version of that up for sale on his website tomorrow.
Well, I mean, that player screams mobility, right?
Dr. Pollock, you've excelled yourself with that one. I've got a question for you, Alex. What's worth more to you, your Lidl loyalty points or your Swindon Town loyalty points?
Well, I think the Swindon Town loyalty points is a bit of a contentious issue, right? So I'm not 100% sure what my Swindon Town loyalty points would be worth. So I don't know if anyone does. So I'd have to go with my Lidl points on that one.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you can't buy yourself a nice maple bacon quiche with your Swindon Town loyalty points, can you?
No, and I love the fresh bakery section at Lidl. Someone posted a tweet the other day saying, "Does our town cash or our town credit carry over?" And I've got absolutely no idea what town cash or town credit is. So yeah, I just thought I'd raise that one.
Oh my God! I mean, listen. We're a very experimental town at the end of the day, aren't we? I'm sure there's a whole host of wonderful things that we've engaged with at some point. I mean, there was a very interesting media tie-up, wasn't there, at the start of the season, where you could accrue points. Any of my board members want to jump in and tell me how many points they accrued with such a system, but it seemed to disappear as quickly as it arrived.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure how many loyalty points I have, and I'm not sure if I've used them all. It helps to know a season ticket holder, I think. I'd be going with the Lidl points for the same reason Alex said, the bakery, and specifically the toffee yum yums at Lidl do.
You've got me excited now. Do you think we should maybe do some kind of collab in the club shop? We could sell quiche in the club shop. Town quiche. Hey, listen, we've got town branded chocolate Brazils, I believe, or Haribo. Why can't we have town branded quiche? Give Danny Lee had a commercial shout. I'm sure he'll be straight on that. Hey, listen, there's a Lidl just over the way there. It's not far. Do you know? It's a win-win, surely, a win-win. Anyway, Chris, move us on.
All right. You are marooned on a desert island with Hoops and Jonah. You can take one item with you. What is it and why?
It's gonna have to be a mobile phone, because I don't think the world would be able to cope without Life of a Kitman TikTok. And
that's a great shout.
Secretly, I would just love to be on that channel. So it's something for everyone else and something for me, you know.
Yeah, I think that's a fair shout. I mean, I would have probably gone for a 3-man hammock. Those boys do spoon well.
Much like want to come in between two pro spooners like that. You know, they've been on the road a lot this year. Don't need to be breaking that one up.
I don't mind telling you, first-hand experience, those boys have got an epic man hug. Like, it's sincere, it's got good clench about it. They make you feel good after a home defeat. I'll tell you that. Well, look, here's one for you, Alex. What is the worst piece of STFC merch you have ever owned?
Oh my God, the worst piece of STFC merch I've ever owned.
And it's not allowed to be quiche.
It's not allowed to be quiche. I was bought. I was bought a pack of STFC branded sweets years ago, and they were just disgusting and stale.
Oh.
And actually, I think since then it's kind of put me off merchandise a little bit. So it never goes on the Christmas list, unfortunately. So yeah, it's not an exciting answer, but it wasn't an exciting experience. So
I think you're making an excuse not to spend money in the club shop, Alex. You don't get many stale scarves, mate. Now come on.
Yeah, that's very true. And I still don't know what my town cash points are. I can spend them on. Although do you know what? My girlfriend's in the other room listening, and she's just replied the STFC pink women's tee, surely. And that's just reminded me of the recent merchandise, which I think has been changed. But it was the spelling. It was the Ali 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 O.
Oh, yeah.
God, those were terrible.
And
it was intentional partridge. It was intentional partridge.
But you know what? I really want one with the ALI, because you hit the nail on the head there. It's so partridge that I actually think that's quite a cool type.
It will certainly be collectible. I did notice a couple of days after one of the WhatsApp groups that I'm proud to be a member of, sort of tweeted the very obvious sort of spelling and grammar issues. I strolled into Sir Dan's in Swindon for my breakfast on a match day, and I saw that there was a T-shirt, and that correction had been made fairly quickly, literally only a matter of a day or two later. So they jumped on it. You've got to give them credit.
Yeah, I had heard rumblings that was kind of going back through review, and they would be sorted. I don't know what the process was behind the scenes for it, but the longer the time has gone on, I kind of wish I got one of those.
Oh, I don't blame you, Joe. You're up.
What we got here? Okay, summer 22-23 party on the pitch. Who are you getting to headline the gig?
I would, for me, it's got to be a family-friendly crowd pleaser. Music-wise, for me, 100% would be Nile Rodgers with Earth, Wind and Fire and Paolo Di Canio. Just all three collaborating for an absolute horrendous party on the pitch.
I'm there.
Oh yeah. Are you going to get Garner drunk and get him up on stage? And if so, what's he going to be belting out?
That's a good shout, actually. I don't know. Garner's one of those ones where I've not really sussed out his persona too much. He's very good at the kind of Friday media duties, and I've been at a couple of club events that he's spoken at, and he's very knowledgeable on football and speaks that kind of football talk that's very steady, very knowledgeable, very comfortable as a head coach from my perspective. I don't know if you'd ever see him on. I don't know if it would be a coup if you could get him on the Sir Tom Broadbent Lounge. How epic would that be?
Better still, let's do a video on the Sir Tom Broadbent Lounge of me and Garner singing "I'm Too Sexy" in black string vests.
Perfect. Done.
There you go. End of. I'll tell you what. In fact, solid. Book me. I'm in next. I'll do it for free. I'll headline the gig. Let's have it.
I'll just make a note and I'll bring that up at the next advisory board.
Yes, please. There'll be. In fact, we'll go the whole hog. We'll get all the Swindon Town baldies in the mix, and we'll be like a bunch of eggs boiling in a pan. You won't be able to keep us down. Max, do you want to take up the next one?
Let's go. All right, this is going to be an interesting one because I see that Andrew is listening in. Alex, Andrew Hawes and Chris Wise arm wrestle. Who are you betting on?
Oh, Andrew Hawes and Chris Wise are in an arm wrestle. I mean, I think I'm going to go Andrew Hawes. I think he'd be a bit of a dark horse. The only reason I'm saying that is because for 90 minutes every Saturday, he sits with his arm in that position, holding the microphone. And I feel that there's some muscle memory going on there. So I'm going to go Andrew Hawes.
Yeah,
I rate it.
I'm completely up with that, 100%. And Andrew, send us a big thumbs up. You'll be pleased to know on our WhatsApp group. He approves. But, you know, so you're basically saying Chris Wise, I mean, he's a dashing-looking chap, Chris. I've never forgiven him for scoring past me on the county ground pitch and humiliating me in front of a sparsely populated town end. But he's a dashing-looking lad, though. You know, he's got good physique. But you're basically saying it's a little bit like Stallone in Over the Top, working out in his truck. Like he's just got that going on with the mic, hasn't he? It's great logic.
There we go. Done.
All right, then. Well, look, Alex, one from me. So the world runs out of pollock. What's your favourite fish?
Oh, do you know what? I had it just last week. I love a bit of sea bass, mate.
You're so media. Come on.
Love a bit of sea bass. I mean, stocks of pollock are very, very good at the moment, particularly North Atlantic, right? So I don't think we're ever going to be in that position, thankfully. I don't think there's a more exciting answer. I actually am a really big fan of sea bass, which is quite boring.
Well, it's like I said, that's a discerning media man's fish of choice. So I think, you know, I can see you there on Charlotte Street, Alex, boshing back your nicely cooked sea bass, enjoying a glass of red in the sun. We're gonna come back to your media credentials, Alex, in a while. We'll keep our powder dry on that because I've got one more for you while we're at it.
Yeah.
So the Swindon Town Football Club class of 2022-23 can win the league, but you have to personally sacrifice your teeth. So is it league glory or a life in dentures? Your choice.
Oh, if I don't sacrifice my teeth, where do they finish?
Well, I can't win the league.
I mean, yeah, I think if I retained my teeth, we'd still probably get second or third, at least automatic. I'm not sure I could do a life of dentures. So yeah, probably going to get slated for that one, I think. But
Alex, I'll tell you what, I've got a challenge for you. Either go in the other room or call out to your partner and let's get her answer. What would she prefer?
Should we go ask her right now?
Yep.
Okay. We'll go through and Hannah, I'll let you ask the question again. You're live in the living room.
That's lovely.
Oh, hi guys. What's going on?
Hello. We've got a big question, but you've got to take it really, really seriously and give it due consideration.
Okay, firstly, whoa. Who are you and what are you doing in my living room?
Well, listen, I asked the questions here, lady, all right? You just back down. The questions I ask have got real clout, so brace yourself.
Okay, here we go.
So the Swindon Town class of 2022-23 can win the league, but Alex has to sacrifice his teeth. So is it he keeps his teeth and no league glory, or you get to see a very, very, very happy Alex, but a life in dentures?
He keeps his teeth.
You'll get on so well with my wife.
Thanks very much, Holly. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Mrs. Pollock.
There we go.
Oh, bless her. There's nothing like a good impromptu interview. A little bit of doorstepping, Alex. And please do send her our appreciation.
Will do.
Chris, do you want to move us on?
Quickly moving ahead then. So, shank pile or hardwood floor at Shea Pollock?
Hardwood floor. A lovely old 1930s Victorian house here. It's hardwood floor throughout.
Oh, impressive.
Yeah, indeed. Now, but Alex, the real question is, was it there before you moved in?
It was actually, yeah.
Mm.
There we go.
And was it one of those homely features that made that house purchase essential?
No, I think it was just really good value for money at the time. Unfortunately, which again is a really safe, middle of the road kind of decision, you know.
Does Mrs. P behave herself with the high heels on said hardwood floor?
There's a lot of dents in this floor. I'll give you that.
Absolute disgrace. I'm just finding my relationship with Mrs. Pollock is drifting now. It's drifting. Right, what we got next? Joe?
Yep, my turn. Okay. Who's your most detested player to ever wear the red and white of STFC, and why is it Aidan Flint?
Yay!
Oh, brilliant. But I'll let you have that answer. That's perfect.
And does it just come down to the song? I mean, that's the circumstance, the lyrics. He was so. Just read the room, Aidan. Read the room.
Yeah.
Pitch, surely.
Who else we got? What else we got here then? Max, you're up next.
Right, here we go. Alex, given your nice hardwood floors, what's the most disgusting thing you've ever located at the bottom of your fridge? We've heard about how nice the floors are in your house, but what about the fridge?
Yeah, do you know what? We did have an incident with some cream a couple of weeks ago.
The worst. Dairy, the worst.
Cream in the fridge does not go well. Every day's a school day, right? I only found out a few weeks ago that there was a little hole in the back of the fridge that seeps down into a little tray that sits on top of a heating device. Cream went down, and I mean, yeah, we spent days trying to find out what that smell was.
No.
Things got washed that never been washed before, in and around the house. It was some cream molding out the back.
Well, I've got another challenge for you, Alex. I hope you're up on your feet.
Yep.
Can you make your way to your fridge and tell us the most disgusting thing you can see in there right now?
The most disgusting thing I can see in there right now.
Get right to the bottom, dig deep, and be honest. We're watching.
Do you know what?
It's going to be a quiche.
Don't think there will be, because we've just done a food shop. Let's have a look.
What's going on again? What's going on now?
Just seeing what the worst thing is about the fridge. I mean, the fridge is looking pretty good. It's well stocked. I can't fault this fridge.
You've not got a speck of mold.
Yeah, it's got a furry blueberry somewhere.
There's no mold in there, unfortunately. I feel like I've let you down on that one. I feel like other people's fridges are in
No, it's an achievement for mankind to have a clean fridge, Alex. We'll let you have that. Right, Alex, another question from me. Mud wrestling with Clem. Now, you can win £250,000 if you fight Clem to the death, or you can win £10,000 if Peaks steps in for you. Which do you choose?
So I could win it. Do you know what? I'll take Peaks stepping in on that one. I've always been a lover, not a fighter, and Mud getting in and amongst these paws with this lovely skin, it's probably not the one for me right now. So Peaks can step in. I'll take the 10K and I'll just watch from afar.
Wouldn't want to mess with the hairdo either. Wouldn't want to mess with the hair.
Very good point.
No, but you say that, but let's go back to Arnold Schwarzenegger in Predator. Like Mud and that lovely slick back, that kind of works. I reckon you could rock that, Alex.
Yeah, maybe I could just do that as a bit of a hairstyle once without having to get in, and wrestle. We'll see how that works out.
Yeah, well, you could do. Maybe Peaks will bring some Mud back, as part of his victory tour. Right, got another one from. This is from Oliver on Twitter. Oliver wants to know: do you think the big toe feels self-conscious about being the big toe?
Do you know what? I saw that one earlier on, actually. I think that's a very profound question. And I just think if you think of it from a kind of stoic perspective, I think all the toes feel a nice little balance, because ultimately, even weighting across all of them is a good bit of balance for the body. I would imagine, though, secretly behind the scenes, the big toe's kind of subconsciously has got his ego kind of going. It knows it's the big toe, right?
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think that the problem with the big toe is like he's a bit like, I don't know. It's go back to your selection of player. It's kind of like the Razor Ruzzer torso of the toe world, isn't it? I mean, it's never a looker.
Never, it never is.
Yeah, and it's got weird chest wig going on as well. If you're my big toe, I don't mind telling you. I mean, I don't know whether I should address that or what, but I'm not particularly pleased with the big toe. Joe? What do your big toes look like? Have you got attractive big toes, Joe?
I'm sat wearing sliders. I'm looking at them now. They're monstrosities, I can tell you. I take kickings for it. My girlfriend hates them. In school, I was called Big Toe Joe at one point. That was an actual thing that made me upset back in the day.
Are you sure you've not misread the question then? Was the question something to do with Big Toe Joe?
I'm getting my just desserts with Pollock's now, aren't I?
Big Toe Joe, Pollock's, Sean's Hodgetts, they're all coming out. I don't want to take you down the road of Andrew Hawes. That could lead a whole different conversation.
No.
Hey, I'm here all night. Right, all right then, Alex. We've got another task for you. We need you to return to the room with Mrs. P, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, I'm just going to do that now. Bear with me.
We're making friends tonight.
We are.
Absolutely. Here we go. Back in the room with Mrs. P.
Now, Mrs. P, we would like you to examine Alex's big toes and ask us, should Alex feel more self-conscious because of the state of his big toes?
I can tell you firsthand that absolutely not. I don't even need to examine the most beautiful things. I'll put them in my mouth right now if you need to hear me suck them.
There we go. And that is
bravo.
That is the Ofcom. That is the Ofcom review of the Circle Broadband.
Right, what we got next? Chris, lead us along.
Where are we? Right. This is one from Legally Swin via Twitter. Where is the strangest place you've ever met a footballer?
Yeah, I've got two on this actually because I did see this one come through. When I was a kid, flew up to was on our way back from Glasgow into Bristol, flying from Glasgow airport with my dad and my uncle, and Matt Letitia was sat at our gate waiting to board a flight, and I asked for his autograph and had a bit of a conversation, and there's no other open gates anywhere near where we are, and he proceeds to tell us that he's waiting for his flight back down to Southampton. I don't know if he ever made that flight because he was sat outside the gate and was going back to Bristol. So I've got no idea why he was sat there. Something of a strange one. Secondly, I'm just trying to think, what was, I can't remember the guy's first name, but do you remember the French footballer, Liza Razou? 98. Yes, 1998 World Cup winner, I think Euro 2000. Very strangely, I was at the opening of a hotel in Paris a couple of years ago, and he was also a guest. And I spent an hour stood next to him, and he was telling me all about how post-football he's now a black belt in jiu-jitsu and surfs for 12 hours a day.
Yep.
So yeah,
double R. He is the original dark horse.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's quite unassuming, isn't he, Alex? He's quite unassuming. I judge that book by its cover at your peril.
Yeah, and you know what? Just a very, very nice gent. Very nice gent.
Yeah, silly name though, but we'll move on.
Yeah, and I think I'm pretty sure Patrice ever recorded with Tramp once, didn't he? And that sort of knocked his confidence. That's probably why he's in public life and has gone into the world of jiu-jitsu and surfing off the French coast.
Yeah, it was probably. I wonder whether Patrice Evra calling him a tramp actually sort of was the motivation he needed to turn himself into a double-hard door kicker. Because they were both left backs, weren't they? So, yeah,
they were. Yeah, yeah.
That's one of those, isn't it? That's one of those things. Like that's like a rival for your place, just trying to live in your head rent free. And I reckon he achieved it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, just jiu-jitsu on the weekend and surfing Monday to Friday.
Yeah, scary guy. Joe, move us along.
To add a little extra content to that last question, a few years ago, I was in Iceland whale watching, and I can't do the sea. I get seasick because I'm sick as a dog when I'm on water. I came off the boat because I threw up, so they docked just for me. I thought I'd go find a pub in Reykjavik, and I bumped into Mike Dean.
What a guy.
What a guy.
It was a weird one. Thought I'd have to add that out of nowhere.
Mike Dean's a bit Marmite, isn't he? Mike Dean's a bit Marmite.
Genuinely top man. He was such a nice bloke. I sat with him for a little bit because I was on my own. And his wife was lovely as well. I walked up to him on a whim. I was half expecting him to be Spanish or German. Wouldn't understand what I was saying, but walked up to him. I was like, "Hello, are you Mike Dean?" And he went, "No." And he just looked at me with a blank stare. And then he gave me a hug. And I thought, it's just the most Mike Dean thing you can do.
He walked past me. He walked past me a Tranmere away, Mike Dean. But I didn't. I should have got a picture, but he was with his mates. So I didn't want to bother him.
Here, Alex, I've got one that I think you'll like. Where we talk about where professional worlds and the football world collide. So, two former media boys here deep in conversation, Alex, you and I was at house party on the outskirts of Twickenham, enjoying a Guinness in the sun with a half-cut Johnny Douglas. And Johnny Douglas was wearing a nice pair of drain pipe, a nice pair of boat shoe, I believe, and he had a nice sort of Timberlake. I remember thinking that his shirt wasn't appropriate for the conditions. He had a lumberjack shirt on, buttoned all the way up to the top on a hot summer's day.
Oh wow!
Yeah. Now, how does Johnny Douglas get himself into house party? He's oiled the works at Brentford there, hasn't he? That's all I can say. Just down the road, he's got to be the West London links.
I imagine he likes a good pint of Guinness as well. Was he on the Guinness as well?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was on the Guinness. But yeah, nice chap. Interestingly, he went a little bit coy when I mentioned I was a Swindon fan. At first, he said to me, I think he said something along the lines of, "Are you taking the piss?" And then when he realised I was legit, things moved on quite quickly, and he literally scuttled off into the crowd. So yeah, Johnny Douglas, post Swindon house party, wasn't keen to hang around. Can't think why. Max, what we got next, Max?
I think.
Oh.
Did I skip my question?
Oh yeah, we did. No, yes, Joe next. It is Joe next.
Sorry,
I was bringing up Mike Dean. I was gloating that I met the greatest referee in the history of association football.
You played the Mike Dean trump card, didn't you? That's what you did. You won the Sir Tom Broadbent Lounge. You won us with Mike Dean.
To my actual question, Harry McCurdy and Paley are hitching a lift. You only have room for one. Who do you pick up? That's from Daz on Twitter.
Oh, do you know what? I think I might get really good at this. I think I'd probably go with Rooney. I think if I picked up Harry McCurdy, he'd probably have a list of errands. We'd have to go here, there, and everywhere. I just think Payne, Payne feels like the type of person who probably wouldn't even want you to drop him where he's actually going. He'd be like, just drop me somewhere around here, I'll walk from it, and it's actually like, a mile away. I just think it would be the easier route,
I feel like Mackham is the sort of bloke to yank on the handbrake for a laugh, or beep your horn when you're going past anyone walking on the side of the road.
Yeah, you're going to get all of that. You can get all of that.
Yeah, I agree.
All those gags. I can see that, Joe. All those gags, knocking the car out of gear as you're approaching, the old roundabout, the car's revving. He's doing all of that, isn't he? He's hiding your spare tyre and then he's letting your tyre down. He's doing all those kind of things just for shits and gigs. Paney, on the other hand, I've got to tell you, Paney, I just want to sit there touching him. He's just beautiful. He's a beautiful man. I do. I just feel tactile towards Paney. I just want to touch him.
Come on, we want him to re-sign.
Well, listen, I just speak my mind. I speak as a five, but what a beautiful man Payne is. A beautiful man in every sense of the word. He's got backflips. He's got a new barnet. You know, he recovers.
It's gone on the radar, that, with McKirdy's new one.
What, you're not keen?
Oh, no, I don't mind it, but it's gone under the radar.
Yeah, McKirdy's stolen the limelight on that one. Does it mean that Payne signed? Have they done that as kind of, mark the occasion that Payne is staying as well? I don't know.
Or is it a Cheerio tribute, Alex?
Yeah, maybe. But I'd like to think it was the other one.
That last tryst in the bromance.
Yeah.
Oh. All right. Well, look, Max, move us along.
Right, speaking of Harry McKirdy, this one's from Daz on Twitter. You're at the gents, busting for a wee, but Harry rushes in and he's also busting, but there's only one urinal free. And this is multiple choice. Do you A, let Harry go and wet yourself? B, share and compare? Or C, say, sorry, Harry, this ain't the 18-yard box?
I mean, I can't remember the last time I pissed myself in public, so probably going to avoid that one though. B feels a bit too European for me. That does. I'll probably go C. His bladder's what 8 years younger than mine, so you can hold it, you can wait, respect your elders kind of vibe.
I can respect that.
Good luck with that. I reckon Harry's up to no good behind you, mate, while you're making him hold it. I dread to think what you're dropping in your pot, what you're putting in your pocket.
Sorry to butt in, lads. Have we just seen that breaking news has come through?
I've just seen something about Charlton appointing someone. Please don't tell me it's at our expense.
We're looking like we're going to be a next bald manager.
No.
Yeah.
Go again.
Charlton have agreed compensation for Swindon Town for Ben Garner.
Oh wow!
Is this the first time there's ever been a Sir Tom Broadbent lounge where there's been breaking news of this caliber? Have we just now flipped from an Ask Me Anything to a phone-in?
Well, I think it's okay. Have we got that as a verified source?
Coming from local press from around the area, from South London.
Says,
right.
Yeah, SLP sports editor Richard Corley. It's come from.
Do I need to get my yellow tie on, like pure primed in white?
I'm sort of.
I don't know what to say.
Well, listen. I mean, we've broken the news about Joe Tomlinson signing on the show, mid-show before, but yeah, this is obviously. I'm a little okay. So my brain is starting to process the news. Listen. We should spend a little bit of time about it. I mean, obviously, a lot of it will depend on the sheer size of the compensation package that's been agreed. And if we're going to go down that route, I think we've all got to just quickly try and sort of get Cads on and make sure that Cads is getting his application in.
Oh, that's massive, isn't it?
Well, that's proper left field news, guys, isn't it? I mean, I'm guessing, literally, but judging by our stunned silence.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think what.
I was just trying to read the story. It actually says Garner has agreed the deal as well, so it's not just a case of talks. It looks like it's happening.
Wow. Okay, so I'll tell you what's really interesting about this. So I'm not just saying this to be polite and just to fill in sort of our stunned silence, but I was thinking about, because obviously we've enjoyed it, depending on which side of the fence you sit. He's drawn some real criticism this season, and equally he's drawn an enormous amount of admiration for the way he responded to that criticism. Particularly after that poor run of games that we had, which included Salford, Newport, Leyton Orient, etc. Responded brilliantly, and I did sort of ask myself what kind of club might sort of turn to Ben Garner and give him an opportunity. And I was of the impression that I just didn't think he'd done enough to attract a big club, because I think a lot of the success that he's enjoyed. I mean, Ben Chorley's enjoyed quite a lot of plaudits this year for the signing of players. I appreciate Ben Garner's one that's got to put them out on the pitch and get them playing. But I genuinely didn't see a club of the stature of Charlton Athletic coming in for Ben Garner. But geographically, it makes sense. He lives in Coulsdon, just down the road from Croydon. So it would work for family. He's got a young family that will likely, obviously, see a lot more of him. And hopefully they've written us a bloody great big check. But managerial compensation, Alex, is never that great, is it? It's normally only ever... I appreciate we're going back a little bit here, but I remember when we lost Glenn Hoddle, we didn't get a huge payout from Chelsea relative to the time. So I can't envisage we've got any more than 100, 200 grand for him.
No, and I think, you touched on it there just before around, Garner being a bit of a divisive kind of head coach amongst the kind of fan base, and I've got friends and I've got family, those who thought he was great and thought he was fantastic and thought he'd done really well, and those who really didn't like his style of football. So all I would say is in the kind of build up to the season before Clem Morfuni took charge of Oxford Town, obviously there was conversations going on behind the scenes with Ben Chorley, the director of football. And I think it's kind of credit to more Ben Chorley for kind of how the season's gone, because a lot of the recruitment has kind of been around him, and a lot of the ethos of the way the team plays is actually down to that kind of precedent that Ben Chorley is setting at a much higher level as to who he recruits, the kind of academies he goes to get loan players as well. So part of his remit and part of his job, above everything else as well, is to also have contingency plans in place for something like this should occur. So Clem being a businessman, Clem being pragmatic, and Ben Chorley being that as well, if Ben Garner is going and this is genuine, then I would like to think that one, there is a decent compensation package behind the scenes, but furthermore, Ben Chorley's already got his eyes on who's coming in to replace him.
Yeah, all right then. So let's have a bit of fun with this then. So I appreciate this has just happened, lads, and I'm doorstepping you all now. And Alex, given I'll come to you last, given you just answered the last question. Chris, let's have your top 3 candidates of choice for the job. I appreciate we've all been doorstepped by this news.
Yeah.
But let's think realistically then. Give me your top 3 that you, because inevitably Robbie Fowler's going to get linked to the job as he always does, and we can laugh at that. But who would be your top 3?
Well, in terms of looking at people, if there's people who are out of job, I think within that top 3, I think you've probably got to put Michael Appleton in there as one. You would like to think that we're going to have someone who's going to be sort of a similar style to what we play. So I think we can rule Matt Gray out.
Sorry, Chris, who was your second choice?
I was saying with we want to play football, so I think we pretty much can rule out Matt Gray.
Yep.
So Appleton should be in the mix, but then I'm just trying to think of someone who likes to play the game the right way. Oh. And will we go for another young up-and-coming coach, or will we want someone, now we're out the embargo, with that bit more experience? Oh,
all right,
tough one.
Joe, let's get your 1, 2, 3.
John Yems, Carl Robertson, and John Sheridan.
Outstanding choices, young man. And that's why we pay you the big bucks.
Do you know what? I'm actually shocked by this. I really am. As Tyler is saying that, he's been talking about building foundations, and it's been a big part of the club sort of finding itself again. I'm a bit disappointed.
I think do you know what? I think you're right. I think what's kind of irritating me a little bit is that surely he's got to be the cat that's got the cream here, because he's. I mean, all I can assume. I mean, listen, this is all speculation, but all I can assume is that coming out at the end of the season. I mean, did he? I think what was he on, a 3-year deal?
Yeah, he was on 3 years. Yeah.
So okay, so he's surely he's the cat that's got the cream. He's managed to retain. The club have retained Johnny Williams. They've retained Louis Reed. They had. I know I got you all excited there, but no, they've retained Louis Reed. we've got a far stronger foundation, and this is a big test now for him going into the new season. This is his pre-season. This will be his squad. This is a test of what he's all about. So for him to be sort of disappearing under these circumstances is really sitting uneasy with me.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, what about Macca
Yeah.
as well? We've got to find a coach that's going to look after McCurdy the right way.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. He's retained his top scorer. We've got Ellis under contract. You know, there's some, from what I understand, some very, very ambitious targets. I mean, obviously, it's an interesting time of the season. A lot will depend on maybe it's the kind of players that are being put to him for next season as either realistic or unrealistic or otherwise. I guess it's all going to come out in the wash. But I mean, you know, at the end of the day, it feels a bit Richie Wellens to me. You know, when Richie went back up to Salford, you know, he was closer to his family. You know, I think on a human level, he has got very young kids. You know, Swindon is a daily grind for him. If he spends a lot of time away from his family, on a human level, I can see that. But as you say, given it's not like he doesn't know that when he gets into managing the club in the first place.
The other thing that's a bit of a concern here is he going to try and take some players with him? Obviously, to buy them. I'm thinking more about would he try and take Louis Reed there, because he's such an important player to the way Ghana plays.
Well, if he wants to take Louis Reed, he's going to have to break the bank. Yeah. But I can imagine Jack Payne going there for a start.
Johnny Williams.
I don't mind telling you, gentlemen, my son has just emerged half naked in the lounge, showing me his phone screen and showing me the news about Ghana. So it's all going on in Sheikh Hanrahan.
Their fans are fuming. I'm reading through some of the Charlton fans' comments.
What is this about?
The journalists come out and said,
like we've never heard before.
The journalists come out and said, I understand that Ben Garner's also bringing in Scott Marshall and Scott Lindsay from us.
Oh, wow. So
they're taking the whole...
I was looking at suggestions, because obviously there's been some odds coming out for the next Forest Green manager, and the two that jumped out for me that were, I know Michael Appleton's been noted already, but the other one, who's one I'd be interested, if he'd be interested in coming down, is Michael Carrick, former player.
Oh, very interesting.
Be his first step into management. Again, it'd be a young, hungry manager. I'd like to think that he comes in with a decent style of play, and he's got definite pedigree and contacts under him. That could be an interesting appointment if we could make it happen.
I think Carrick.
I like that.
I like Carrick. I'll tell you what, I like the idea of Carrick with Paul Caddis as his number 2.
Yeah, and throwing in some gnarly older first team coach that is Swindon through and through. That's been around the block. That's a nice little trio.
Let's get Roy Keane in.
Yeah. So I'm fascinated now. Who's going to be our gnarly sort of like older face?
Ron Atkinson.
Oh God, can you imagine?
HR would have that.
Gnarly.
But I think a young manager coming in. I think that's probably quite high up on the way. Because how many times have we done that? It's been pretty successful for us generally.
Yeah, I think, listen, the key thing for me, I mean, Appleton gets to mention because he's been successful at this level, but it'll be style of football. And I don't think the kind of Lincoln sort of lobbing the ball in the box is going to endear himself in and around Swindon parts. And I mean, if we're winning games, people won't grumble. But if look at the makeup of our current squad, it's not exactly made up for, the bombs in the box. So I kind of think that might rule out Appleton. I may be doing him a disservice, but I can see someone of the ilk of a Michael Carrick coming in and playing the Swindon way. And like you said, there are some nostalgic memories of Carrick in Swindon shirt as well. I'll throw another curveball at you. What about if bearing in mind Mr. Milner up at Liverpool, he's still got a bit left in the tank, and he might fancy it. He left with absolute fanfare, I remember. Could James Milner be an option?
Also, actually, just curveballing away from that as well. Do you remember when Boreham Wood got through to the 5th round of the FA Cup, and everyone made that tenuous link with Luke Garrard having once been an apprentice at Swindon Town?
Oh wow, this is well and truly. I mean, yeah, Garrard does get a mention. He's been getting increasing mentions, certainly amongst my social circle. Okay, I'll tell you what. Let's continue to percolate because I appreciate we're literally sort of responding to something that's breaking here. Whilst we, I mean, it's almost like it's difficult to know which direction to take this conversation in, because clearly there are multiple sources that have got hold of this story and seem to be running with it, and it's going to mean. I mean, we talked about. The fans were talking about not wanting a complete playing overhaul this summer, but with Lindsay and Marshall going, that is a complete coaching overhaul, isn't it?
Well, it's the whole lot. So quite often, sometimes the manager will go, and you'll at least have some continuity, but we'll have absolutely none of that.
We've got Mildy.
Yeah, is there any mention of Mildy amongst the coaches?
No, there's nothing about Mildy. He'd never let us down like that.
The golden ledge. God bless you, Mildy.
Yeah, and actually, I quite enjoyed Melksham away pre-season last year with him on the touchline. So
it was him and Peaks, wasn't it?
Yes.
Well, listen. I mean, on that, there have been interesting appointments inside football clubs from people that have come from areas that you wouldn't expect them to and have been successful. And appreciate later in his career he's not done so great. But Nigel Adkins was what was it? He was the physio, wasn't he?
It was physio. Scunthorpe, wasn't he?
Mildy, he's worth a shout, isn't he? He wouldn't be the first goalkeeping coach to be, making a move up and making a success of, corralling his team, putting a bit of, putting an half-decent side together and running with it. And if he's under the guidance of Ben Chorley as a director of football, maybe. I think it's a long shot. I mean, inevitably, Lee Peacock's going to get a mention, but Peacock has been very open about saying that he's very, very happy with his role in and around the youth setup. But that would be a very popular appointment with the fans. God, blimey! I mean, Max, have you got a 1-2-3 under your sleeve yet, Max?
Was other than Appleton and Carrick I already mentioned? I'm looking through some articles on what sort of clubs in our ilk who need a manager. So the first one John's man is Forest Green, and they were looking at a guy called Barry Murphy, who's he's head of Man City's elite development squad.
Yeah.
Or there's Man United's head of player development, Justin Cochran. I feel like if there's going to be any sort of appointment, it's going to be in the Ghana mould. I can't see them going for some old head like Adkins, for example. I just don't think that's, especially if it's going to be Chorley making the appointment, I can't see him going down that road. I can see him, and I prefer this as well myself anyway, going down a young, hungry manager, maybe one that's got history developing young players, whether it be in a Premier League under-23 system, maybe a manager who does something abroad. I know Ghana's last role before Rovers was over in India. It could be anything like that. I can't see it being one of those manager merry-go-round football league managers like a Steve Evans or someone like that.
Well, how about this? Liam Collins just thrown in a lovely suggestion. He would like to see us reunited with Fabrizio Picaretta.
Oh, what a guy.
Let's get Sean Dyche in.
Oh, Dyche.
Oh, that's a proper League Two football.
4-4-2, ball doesn't touch the ground.
Then they don't want to come back.
Yeah.
I tell you, no one's going to cross swords with Sean Dyche. All Sean Dyche has to do is just start talking, and everyone's under his spell. So, all right, Alex.
Good evening, Alex.
Tyler's here.
Good evening.
Alex, I said we'd come to you last. Have you got a 1-2-3?
The more I think about it, I do like the idea of that Luke Garrard. There is something within me, and there will always be something within me whenever this comes around, that I just want to say, write Richie Wellens a blank check and just bring him home. But that'll never happen, unfortunately. So no, that's my shouts.
Well, I'll tell you what. Okay, let's spend a bit of time on Wellens, actually, because so he's got a good thing going at Orient. He's well regarded, but he's still popular in the area. We are, whether you like it or not, if you talk about professional development, we are a bigger club. I think we would be a bigger and better shout for promotion next season. And if Richie is as ambitious as he says he is, then Swindon come calling off the back of the season we've had versus a season at Orient where promotion, yeah, all right, they can go after it. but you've got to. I mean, I don't. Okay, so I'm not betraying any confidences here. I spoke to Richie after the Lone Strangers Shield last summer, and Richie was quite clear. He was like, "Look, under the right ownership, he'd love to come back." And
Wow.
we've got the right ownership now. It's just it's whether or not the getting his heart out of the projects he started at Orient is going to be possible. But I can actually see. I think that he's certainly someone we should be looking to have a dig at.
Recycle that compensation money, bring it over to Orient, see what they say.
Yeah, I mean, he's already really well regarded, isn't he? The fans are well behind what he's doing. Tyler, what's your 1, 2, 3, mate? Just joining us. I know he's sneaking in through the back door.
Well, Welland is nowhere near it, and I think I've made that clear before that I wouldn't take him back, especially with the director of football model and how we look to build moving forward. He isn't the answer, and I don't think it will be. For me, you know me, Mark. I love football, just full stop, and I'm always sort of looking at football. I've got one of the most left field takes you've got going. I'm talking Ian Jeffs managing in the top flight of Iceland at the moment. Have a look. Go for it.
Ex-Aberdeen's Ian Jess. He was a big name in the early versions of Championship Manager. I'll tell you that for nothing.
Just take a stab in the dark on something like that. Because looking at the managers that are available within England at the moment, none of them really seem to fill me with confidence. But then again, that's looking at managers rather than potentially head coaches or academy coaches like Brian Barry Murphy is. And to be fair, I thought Brian Barry Murphy did very well at Rochdale with what he had and was unfortunate to get the drop. And by all accounts, they played very good football, sort of similar to what Ghana did. So I don't think that's an awful shout. I think it was Max who said that.
Interesting.
But yeah, for me, Welland is nowhere near it.
Surely.
I quite like that manager, that British manager that's gone abroad kind of thing. That Ian Birchnell, going to be the new Forest Green manager. He was over in where did he go?
Probably Iceland or Norway.
Yeah, it was sort of Sweden, I think it was. Is it Östersund he was at? He was at last year. And then the rumours today is he's the next Forest Green guy. Plays good football.
He's pretty much something like 3-1 on to be Forest Green manager.
So, as this story is developing, guys, is anyone seeing any sort of suggestions as to why this has happened yet, or should we have a look? I mean, I've kind of very early when the story was breaking, I kind of threw a couple of suggestions in there. What's the panel's gut feeling as to why this has happened?
Oh, I just can't think. The more I think about it, the more it makes me feel sick. Because it's like you say that I feel like he's a risky appointment. I can see why a team in League One might go for him, but it's just how quickly he's jumped ship. And by all accounts, it's a reliable source.
Yeah,
so
he was always talking about the project and to obviously leave that project so early. But like Hannah's mentioned as well, the young family and being in London is probably a huge draw, and maybe a London team was the only team that were going to attract him.
Yeah, it's got to be. I mean, listen, like I said, on a human level, it's going to be very, very, very difficult for him. Spending long periods of time away from his young kids and watching them grow up, and anyone that's had young kids and has had been in gainful employment where they anywhere an hour or so away from the home for a commute will empathise. That is tough. And football is one of those. I mean, now your summer break is for a manager. You're lucky if you get a week or two away. It's an all-consuming role, and such is the scale of the rebuild that continues at Swindon Town. I mean, it's got to be putting a bit of a weight on his shoulders. Okay, so what about this then? I mean, to what extent do events after Vale Park do we think play a role in Ben's thinking? Because he was obviously very upset, very shaken after what happened at Vale Park, and could it be an issue around security? and the feeling, being safe further up the leagues. Could it be that?
I don't know if that's really in there as well, because even at Forest it wasn't particularly safe. So I just think that's I think that's pretty much, obviously the EFL are going to come down on that, but I don't think League One, League Two, Championship is one safer than the other, really.
All right. Well, try and listen. I've just invited Vic to join us because obviously Vic's been there, seen it, done it. Vic, I'd love to get your take on this news that appears to be breaking, that Ben Garner's disappearing. Have you got any thoughts?
I'm a bit amazed, really, because I've been listening to you and Alex, and also watching Somerset beat Kent in the 2020, and thinking, "Oh, this is quite nice. This is a summer. Nothing much goes on, does it?" And then all of a sudden, we've lost our manager, which is just extraordinary. I just. I don't think anybody saw this coming, did they? I mean, I just saw it's all very early days. But one name I would put in, it's been suggested to me by a mate tonight, Paul Caddis.
Yeah, at 100% behind that.
I don't know. I mean, it seems to me he's a sort of manager that will get everybody going, and United behind the club. So, hey, get Cads in.
How do you feel about a Paul Caddis, Fabrizio Picaretta dream team?
Pretty good. That would be pretty good indeed. I mean, whether Fabrizio would come back with anybody other than Paolo Di Canio, I'm not sure. But, they worked well together, didn't they, under the Di Canio regime? So I don't see why that wouldn't happen. But if you were to ask me who my first choice would be, I'd certainly go for Paul Caddis. He's got coaching experience. He's taken his badges. The fans would get behind him. As we know, he's a Red, and he hates that team up the A420. So he'd be my choice. I mean, I know what Tyler said about Richie Wellens. I think a lot of people have mixed feelings about him. Would we want him back? Well, he did a job on us, didn't he, over Easter with Leyton Orient. Knows what he's doing tactically. People would obviously put him in the frame. So those are the two, I guess, who will make the early running. I mean, Paul Caddis, to me, if you want to go for a young and upcoming coach, he's your man.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, the one thing I love about Cads is he's got an unquenchable passion for Swindon Town. He is very, very, very driven. He's been very open about saying that he wants to manage Swindon Town at some point. He would have the respect to the changing room. He's been there, done it. He's played at the highest levels of European football at Glasgow Celtic, where he's faced true European giants. And growing up in and around that kind of that Celtic culture, there is a winning is the only option. Whether they've done that or not, during that time is neither here nor there. But it's obviously, if you're at Rangers or at Celtic, you have to win, and there is no ifs, buts, or maybes. And crucially, he's been at Swindon Town at multiple eras where we've enjoyed success and otherwise as well. And I think, certainly from a coaching point of view, the terrible year that he endured under John Sheridan would have certainly sort of shaped what he definitely doesn't want to become as a coach. So, yeah, I mean, listen, for me, he's an absolute natural, like an absolute natural. So,
yeah, dream team.
He'd also play the sort of football that we'd want to see, wouldn't he? Because he knows what Swindon fans want, and he knows how to deliver it. I mean, his contact book must be very good. I don't know whether I am disappointed in Ben Garner or I'm not disappointed. I just kind of like, it's such a bolt out of the blue. I don't think anybody saw this coming. I mean, I think, he's always going to be linked with teams because he's done all right this season, but you wouldn't say he's, all right, he's got in the playoffs, but does that qualify him to become manager of a League One team such as Charlton? I don't know. I mean, it just seems such a bolt out of the blue for everybody, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think, when the news broke, I think we just didn't know what to say initially.
Yeah, I think that's the reaction. I mean, I have to say I did sort of zone out for a bit just to go and get myself something to eat and watch a bit of the news, and then saw this breaking and then thought, well, I'll start listening again. So it just seems bizarre. The whole thing just seems really strange. And I don't know, Alex, did you have any, I don't know whether the Trust had any inkling of this, or is this completely out of the blue for them as well?
No, absolutely bolt out of the blue. To be fair, those kind of things wouldn't normally get discussed by us. That would definitely be on the playing side of things. But But sometimes when there are rumblings of player signings or what was going on throughout the season, particularly around January, you kind of get a little heads up, an unconfirmed or whatever, or you're in the club for a meeting and it pops up. But this, we had the retained and released list yesterday, and I think a lot of people were happy and content with what went on there for the majority. So, in true Swindon Town FC style, it's only right that we have a bit of a roller coaster rise with it, and maybe this is that twist and turn that was about to pop up.
Just when you, to paraphrase a famous film, just when you thought it was safe to go back into the water, this happens.
Yeah. If there is to be a positive, though, I think that is that it's happened now. So there's plenty of time to get sorted.
Yeah, well, here's a question for you then. I mean, we sort of touched on it right at the start. I mean, Max, I'll put this to you to for starters. What sort of percentage of the Swindon Town fan base do you think will be actually quite happy to see the back of him?
I think it's that sort of 25-30% that the type who moan when we might take a short goal kick or something. I think. That's the thing. I think that you'll have fans happy to see Garner's style of play kicked out, but I can't see us appointing a manager who's not going to want to play that sort of game. To be honest, and I'm part of that. I'm sad to see him go because I enjoy watching the football. I think it's been some of the best football we've watched. I mean, along with the Welland spell, I love watching that type of football. Look how much everyone hated watching it last year when we had the dinosaur in charge. And well, I say he was playing long ball. He didn't even have a plan. And I thought that what Garner brought was a solid base of get possession of the ball, keep the ball on the ground, and we were top scorers in the league for a reason under him.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, listen, we're in. I think it'd probably be sort of sensible that we. I feel like this is such a huge story that's breaking. I kind of don't want to be the killjoy and say, look, guys, at the moment, let's get Alex back on the rack with some of these daft questions, and then we look to come back to it if anything else is broken in the show. But I mean, certainly. We're kind of we're in a fortunate position because it just happens that we're on air as this is breaking, but at the same time, we kind of don't really have a lot to go on at the moment, really, do we? To speculate, we've kind of touched on the managers, we touched on what the fans' reaction is going to be. I mean, Max, I'm completely with you. I mean, maybe just spend a little bit more time on that point, Chris. I mean, what percentage of the fan base would you say are kind of pleased to see the back?
I wouldn't have thought that it's too much different from what Max suggested. Maybe going back a few weeks, and I would probably say it was closer to 50-50. But I think the adaptations that Garner made later in the season brought quite a lot of those naysayers round a bit.
Yeah, I mean, like obviously, Alex, I don't mean to. I mean, please don't go into as much detail as you want. But I mean, from a trust point of view, where's your gut feeling at? Because you have so much contact with supporters across the board. We touched on Jason's comments in relation to his relationship and some of the exchanges that you've had. You have contacts with people that are positive and negative, but fundamentally, we're all red and white. What do you think will be the kind of level of appreciation versus level of good, see you later, good riddance?
Yeah, I just think going back to my point earlier on, like even within my group of friends and family that I regularly attend matches with, the Garner style was so divisive. I personally, and similarly to a few of you guys, I quite liked the Garner ball style. That possession, the way we had build-up play. I quite like the passing it about around the back when there's no option going forward. So I think it'll be a real mixed bag. I mean, just for a thought for Metro journalist Gavin Brown, I've just seen his tweet at 9 p.m. this evening. He bought a season ticket for the first time since 1994. 10 p.m. Ben Garner buggers off. Sorry, lads.
It's all very Swindon Town. I mean, I would absolutely. I would love to, if we could. I mean, appreciate we've got Paul Caddis's ears with us tonight. I would love Paul to come on and share his thoughts on on who he thinks is a viable option, even if that's to endorse his own candidacy, given that we've all pretty much sat there and done it. And Paul, if you just want to come on and hear us all say nice things about you, and hey, we've got nothing to lose. But equally, Paul, if you've got any thoughts on who you think would be a sensible option to join Swindon Town, fire them over either on text or join us live. You know you have an open invite to come on and speak. And we'll do our best if we can, see if we can tempt Paul on. It'd be lovely to hear from him. So, yeah, wow. I mean, where do we go from there? That is literally like a bit of a bombshell, isn't it? I think probably the best thing we can do to go from there, Alex, is to ask you the following question. As a dashing media type, how many buttons do you recommend any discerning male opens on his work shirt?
Oh my God! If Paul Caddis was just plucking up the courage to come on live right now, I dread to think. I don't know. Is there a best practice? Is there a golden rule?
Two's a bit boring, Alex, isn't it? Three's kind of flamboyant. Four, like you're taking liberties. So where do you sit? I mean, you might go the whole hog on a hot summer's day, particularly if you're working at home. But...
Yeah, I mean, and if I'm working at home, there's normally no top on anyway. But if I was out in the general public, I'm more of a modern man, so it would be an overshirt and a white tee underneath. It was super safe. If it was,
Alex? Do you ever go the whole Xavi Austin and go for the pink pants then when you're working at home?
Oh, that's a good chat. I've never thought of that. I should. Sometimes it gets quite hot. Sat in this bay window,
All right. Well, listen, Sam Hart sent in a slightly more serious question for you, Alex. He said, "What do you make of the retained and released list?"
I personally, I'm slightly over the moon. I tweeted about it earlier on, actually. From my perspective, I've kind of got no complaints. Reed and Williams. I'd heard the rumours a few weeks ago, but I wasn't going to believe it until I'd seen it written down. I really hope Frenchie sticks around for one last dance. I thought that last kind of 6-7 games of the season, he was outstanding for me, and actually was man of the match candidate for a lot of those games. It was just a shame that some of those there were a couple of other players that really outshone. If we could have Egbo signing a contract, I would be all over that. The Rob Hunt and Jack Payne one's a bit of a hard one for me to read. I think the fact that we've offered Payne a contract is great, but is it what he's expecting? Is it what he anticipated? Has he had better offers? I just hope that we've kind of built a bit of a squad around him and around his livelihood this year that he remains. The wording on the Rob Hunt one was a bit weird. They're still in discussions. That, for me, signals that maybe they're a little bit worlds apart. And there was mixed bag on the kind of Dion Conroy. I've met him a couple of times. He'll have no clue I am, but I think he's a really nice bloke. I think he's been a fantastic servant for the club, and to step up as captain this year and last year as well. I think great, but moving forward, probably the right time to say our goodbyes and for him to move on. I don't know if it's a case of he had another offer and didn't need anything from the club, or whether the club said, do you know what, there's nothing we can offer. But I would imagine he's one of the higher wages. And I think if you look at his league appearances in that 5.5 years, I mean, we've got the best part of 46 games in the League Two season, and he's rocking out for maybe a third of them. Obviously, he's had a few injuries, and I think had Cooper not got injured, he probably wouldn't have got back into that back lineup. I'm not sure, but I'm not 100% sure the club would have got return on playing investment from him. So it's slightly Sanders me, because I think he's a really top bloke and he's been a great servant to the club. But maybe the right time for him to find a new challenge.
Interesting, Alex. You mentioned, obviously, you've mentioned all the names there. I'll just put this to you. I can see the likes of Jack Payne, Rob Hunt, and Manny Egbo making their way along to Charlton with Garner. Because of geography, because of affinity with Garner. I've got, and in fact, talk about Garner. I could possibly even see a Jojo Woolacott making his way to somewhere like Charlton Athletic as well. So what's starting to dawn on me with Garner going is how many of those lads have got a real affinity with him, and how many of them would appreciate. I mean, because you can't deny it. Charlton are a big club, recent ex-Premier League club. They get big numbers. Recent takeover. There's a feel-good factor swelling around that club. And I can imagine all of those lads certainly being good, solid performers at Charlton. So that's just my 2 pence worth. I mean, Chris, I don't know whether at this stage, Chris, you would like to round us off with our last daft question, because it kind of fits in quite nicely. But before we do that, Chris, just one for the floor to generally talk about. The names are flying in of potential managers now coming in on my DM. So apologies for the slight pause in my vocals. Someone's just made a very good shout with Ryan Mason. How do we feel about Ryan Mason?
Yeah, I think Mason's a good shout. I mean, he's been here. But he surely should be one up towards the top of the list. He fits the mould that we sort of want, like a younger, up and coming type guy.
Yeah, I'd certainly take Mason. I think if we're not looking at young sort of coaches of the ilk of Carrick, Mason, then I think we might as well pack up and go home. I mean, that very much is in keeping with almost what I call the Swindon Town way. Certainly in my lifetime as a supporter, sort of young, up and coming, what used to be referred to as a tracksuit manager. So I'm all over Mason. But Chris, I think you should hit Alex with our last daft question.
Alex has gone to a listener from a speaker. I don't know if something's happened with his connection.
Let's see if we can get him slotted back on as a speaker. Bear with. Bill, it looks like we've lost him altogether. Well, his connection wasn't that great, wasn't that stable. If he jumps back on, we get it. To be fair, Chris, it was a crap question anyway, wasn't it? So we're not too bothered about it. Well, listen, I mean,
to be honest, I think those questions have sort of faded away.
Yeah, I think I talk about sort of how to hijack a show in one failed swoop. Okay.
Sorry, I don't know what happened.
Alex.
You cut out, so I had to sign out and sign back in, but here I am.
Hey, no worries. Chris has got one final question, which we just decided was a bit crap anyway, Alex, so we weren't that fussed about asking you, but we're going to ask you anyway, because it kind of maybe fits the narrative with what's happened tonight.
Yeah, so then, Alex, the Kaiser Chiefs predicted a riot. What do you predict?
I predict a slightly less turbulent summer than last year. It's not going to be quite a riot. It's going to be smooth sailing. We'll get the next couple of weeks out of the way. We'll get a new head coach on board. We're going to absolutely dominate that loan market. We're going to get some marquee signings in. We're going to retain some of those players that we're dreading are on their way to Charlton with Ghana. And we're going to absolutely HMS piss the league next year. That's what I predict.
Yeah.
Cheers to that.
Amen, Alex Pollock. Well, look, ladies and gentlemen, what brilliant fun, Alex. You've been a brilliant sport tonight. You didn't shy away from any questions. We got Mrs. P involved. Please do send her all our thanks, and please do make sure you play her the recording so she knows that she's enjoyed fame that is the Sir Tom Broadbent Lounge. 9 o'clock every Wednesday night, ladies and gentlemen, and often in between as well. Listen, I think we just tidy this one off with a nice sort of like pink bow. I think it obviously sends us all off to our beds with probably more questions than we had than we had at the start of the night, but completely different types of questions. Thank you for everyone for jumping on. Again, such news of that magnitude kind of throws the narrative somewhat, but I hope we've been able to get sort of sufficient guests on to give us the appropriate twist. I've just noticed if I don't get this guy on, Alex, I'm going to probably get my head pounded in. Ellis, good evening. How are you, chap?
Hello. Thank you for having me on.
No, like I've said before, mate, if I don't get you on, I'm going to be in fear of me physical health. So, Ellis, how has this news reached you, mate? I'm guessing it has reached you, or
Yes.
are you unaware? What are your thoughts?
I'm in two minds about it. Like I did like Garner, but if he does leave, then fine. Like we'll get over it. But my main fear is just the players that go with him, especially like McCurdy, Payne, Reed, players like that make a big difference to the squad. It does make you think: did Clem let Garner re-sign these players so we can get a bit of money out of it? I don't know if that was a plan or if it's genuinely just come out of the blue. I'm not sure.
Well, I think you're right to raise that. I mean, we touched on sort of some of this stuff lightly, Ellis, and obviously as the news is sinking in, my grey matter is sort of like focusing in on the story a little bit more and is becoming less and less shocked. I think the thing that concerns me most actually isn't necessarily Ben Garner leaving, because I think by having a coach and a director of football, you're set up for the whole house of cards doesn't come clattering down. But the thing that really is concerning me is the fact that Marshall and Lindsay are both going with him. Which means that's quite a significant regime change. I do, however, trust our director of football. I think he's built up enough goodwill credits with the Swindon Town base to have our full trust going into the appointment or recommendations of a replacement. And I think some of the names that have been bounded around tonight will all be well. I mean, they're all they're out of jobs, and they're all exciting names to be considered. I think my concern would be, we just got, I hope we don't just cave in and go with somebody that's enjoyed success at this level, but that their football DNA is so different to what this club's all about. I said this right at the start, so I don't mean to repeat myself. But so you're, I mean, again, Ellis, you're of the similar narrative, really. Most of the guys on the panel and people that have joined in with the conversation tonight, it's like I kind of take him or leave him. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, at this point in time, I'd rather have him just because we've over this season we've built something, and going into the new season, you can kind of set your plans out, look at the players you need to sign, and stuff like that. But if he does go, it's not going to be the end of the world. And there were people like after the Leyton Orient game calling him, like saying they want him out and stuff. So I think there will be a majority of, not a majority, but 30% of the fan base that probably would be quite happy with the news. But personally, I'm annoyed, but I'll get over it.
All right. Well, look, let's wrap up like this. Ellis, you pretty much had the final word in terms of the long form content. I'm just going to ask everyone that's left on our panel tonight to just, no explanation required, just give me your name. Ellis, who is going to be in the Swindon Town? Who would you want in the Swindon Town dugout at the start of next season?
Sean Dyche.
Dyche for you. Joe Vincent, what are you thinking?
Ryan Mason.
Ryan Mason. Dyche, Mason. Vic, don't know if you're still listening in, but would you care to pitch in a name? Are you going to run with Caddis, or have you got someone else that you might have settled on?
Yeah, Paul Caddis for me. If not, Ryan Mason. I think that's a good shout too.
Alex is our special guest. We did say cheerio, but just the name will do at this stage. I think we might have lost Alex. I think he may have tuned out.
No, sorry, I was cutting out there. Do you know what? I think Paul Caddis is a great shout.
Caddis, love that. Max Springer, who are you going with?
Ryan Mason.
Ryan Mason. Okay, so we've got a Ryan Mason, Paul Caddis split at the moment. Chris?
I'll go. I'll go with Carrick. But to be honest, there's probably not a lot between the three mentioned: Carrick, Mason, or Caddis. But I'll say Carrick.
All right. Okay, well, I'll wrap us up tonight then with final words. I would like Carrick as gaffer, but I would like Paul Caddis as at least his number 2 and as part of a succession plan further down the line. But I think, just thinking realistic, I am going to go Paul Caddis as well, which means that Paul Caddis takes our panel sweep. Well, look, ladies, gents, like I say, a little bit of a higgledy-piggledy show because of news that has broken halfway through. A little bit bizarre for such a late one at night. We thank Alex so much for his time. Alex, I hope you've enjoyed yourself, buddy.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Thanks very much to yourself, Chris, Max, Joe, even the little segments from Ty, Vic, and Alice. Thanks very much for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's been a good couple of hours.
It's been brilliant fun having you on, Alex. Don't be a stranger, mate. Please stay, please accept an invite to come back on. Open invite anytime. We look forward to catching up with you, hopefully at some point over the summer, but certainly at the start of the new season. Best of luck, mate, with all your endeavours.
Thank you.
So, ladies and gents, all that leaves me to say at this stage is 2 things. Next Wednesday, we have none other than your groundsman, our groundsman, my groundsman, the best groundsman. Marcus Cassidy is going to be joining us next Wednesday. And we're going to have a lot of fun with Marcus. One of our real unsung heroes at the county ground for many, many a season as he's rolled out that beautiful green carpet. And it's going to be brilliant to give him a good old slap on the back and get inside the head of how he keeps that county ground pitch looking so pristine, and no more so than at the moment when a lot of it is being dug up again and set up for the new season. So please mark that in your calendars, guys. I will be tweeting it. But yeah, next Wednesday we will have Marcus on the show. And as we always say at the end of every show, Tom Broadbent Lounge is an independent Swindon Town Twitter space run by fans for fans, but the views do not represent Swindon Town Football Club or Tom Broadbent himself, unless Tom's coming on and abusing us with his rapier-like wit. Have a good evening, guys. Go away, digest the news. I look forward to catching up across Twitter with all of you. And my thanks to Chris, Max, Alex for being such a brilliant sport, Vic for being such a brilliant supporter of the show, Joe, as always, and Ellis, brilliant to hear from you again. And my thanks to my my perennial co-host Ty for making time in and amongst his busy studies. Take good care, guys. Be safe and catch you over Twitter at some point.